the list for the AKM video.
Yet, I need to check list first. Duh. Not for YouTube. Hello, my friends. This is not Mike, but this is Mikhail. And today what we're talking about is the AKM from Tokyo Marui. Because you know why? Because AK is best. As we all know, of course, you want something proud for your mama, your papa, and of course, the old school tradition like your babushka. So once again, good morning. My name is Mikhail, and today we're going to review AK. So hopefully with this AK, everything will go well, or I might get banned on YouTube. Maybe, like any other reviewer. Whatever. But before we review AK, let's go ahead and talk about the box. And of course, it's something you should be proud of. Of course, like traditional, how AK should come out, comes in burlap sack, and of course your natural 7.62 in your AK magazine. But unfortunately, it's airsoft, so guess what? You only get 6mm BBs, so bliet. And now finally, I can talk about the actual AK. Opa, let's do this. So let's talk about the barrel. One thing we know for sure is it's a 14mm counterclockwise turning. So of course, if you want to put suppressor, that's fine. Amplifier, that's also fine as well. Want to steal neighbor's oil filter? That's fine, as long as you don't get caught. So of course, one thing that would be impressive that we've seen on the traditional AK is of course the wood furniture from the actual handguard, stock, and grip. But unfortunately, it is plastic. You can't say traditional AK, of course, than having standard iron sights. So of course, your rear one, it goes up, it goes down, depending on where your height is. And of course, your windage is always going to be in the front. Who would put it in the back? But what about the lower receiver for the AKM? Well, for Tokyo Marui, of course, it's going to be plastic. What, you think high kappa was made out of full metal? Yet, it's actually plastic. But the attention to detail is what makes it more closer to full metal. So guess what? Joke's on you, it still looks good. Let's go ahead and talk about one thing that's also important on AK is magazine release and trigger. And of course, both of those are going to be full steel. Of course, because you want to do is have Spetsnaz reload, which is very expensive to do. But be careful, but you can get it done. So of course, we already talked about trigger and magazine release. But finally, I can talk about the internals. And opa, we get to do internals. So of course, to get to internals to reveal, you're going to push the back of the button near the dust cover behind the stock. So go ahead, push button, take out dust cover, and there you go. What, you think safety is not important? Yet, it's still important. Take out magazine. And now we can actually go into the internals. So now we talk about internals. One thing that we're going to have is of course full metal type of bolt system and the full metal type of recoil guard you will have, and of course your standard typical AK. But of course, one thing that you will notice about Tokyo Marui, it does not withstand anything in regards of saying, hey, I still want recoil. Well, guess what? You still have that vibras from them. Of course, this is the part of when Michael would ask me, oh, Mike, can you do trigger pull? Well, guess what? You still have typical trigger pull like you always would like typical AK. You pull trigger, you have slack, then you hit wall, then it goes bang. When you reset, you still have same audible trigger, of course, with some slack. What, do you think this is normal AR? Come on. Now let's go ahead and talk about the controls on the AK, like what we normally have. Of course, you're going to have your standard AK of being safe, and of course, auto first, because we shoot first, ask questions later, and then we go semi. Because maybe we haven't finished them enough. Of course, beneficial that you'll have an AKM from Tokyo Marui is a dry fire switch. Just in case if you want to actually cycle through and making sure your AK works well. But the benefit of that is if you turn off your switch, you still have the same immersion where you fire your last round. Instead of actually cycling the bolt and hearing gas expert, it will just go clunk like as if you're empty. To basically turn on switch, you flip AK upside down and you're going to go to the left hand side and you're going to see the switch. All you have to do is just pull the switch down towards you, and that will turn on the dry fire. So of course, when you use the magazine, you put magazine in, you put on auto or semi, rack, and plug and play. Davai, ya pasó, davai. But of course, Mikhail, where do you find the actual hop-up chamber? Well, surprisingly enough, it's like a typical MWS system. You take out magazine, you rack the bolt, and it's going to be on the right-hand side with your dial system there. So you can adjust to whatever way BBs you do on there. One thing I do have to put as a key feature, so far what we've seen is it only uses 2 O's and 2 5s to actually shoot out and use the best hop-up wheel adjustment. So again, make sure to use either 2 O's or 2 5s until you actually upgrade the hop-up arm. Now onto the stock. Of course, you're going to have a standard traditional type of fixed stock system like any other AK should be. Now, of course, what we're going to expect, we're going to have is a sling system in the back while the actual sling in the front from the handguard. But what, you expect this to actually be like typical AK to shake like shaky? Yet, it's still pretty good and still built very solid. Again, really good and in the type of you see from AK. What makes it more accurate than any other typical AK is you still have the button switch in the back to put any type of storage, like your cigarettes, your actual weapon guide systems, hell, even a piece of cheese if you need be. I'm using green gas and .20 BBs. And now full auto. Now one thing that we noticed about chronoing this AK, we're expected to shoot around the 335 to 340 FPS. So for indoors, you're fine. But guess what? If you want to shoot outdoors and increase FPS, maybe you can increase inner barrel to make it more shoot 400. Remember, inner barrel on this type of AK is going to be 200mm. Of course, we're going to expect tiny box what's in actually big box. So of course, what's going to be in here is your most important thing is 7.62. Wait a minute, it's 6mm BBs. Bleh! I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But either way, it comes with the most typical standard things you're going to have is your barrel cover system, of course your 6mm sample little BBs, and of course you're going to have is your actual windage system for the front end of the front sight, which is in really tight in box. But as well to that is going to come out in typical standard type of AK with having your standard orange tip, but you still have the benefit of changing to full metal tip. Of course, let's go ahead and look in what's other side of the box. Well, surprisingly enough, it's not my FSB records, but of course the next best thing is your AK manual instructions. Of course, you're going to need this in regards to troubleshooting or of course the standard operating procedures. At the same time, you still have is your nice little BB piece of paper to shoot at, just in case if you want to practice shooting in your backyard with your parents' approval. And of course, safety procedures just in case to come with it, in case of any other situations that tell you not to shoot at each other until you're actually on the airsoft field. Your call. So overall, what do I think about AK from Tokyo Marui? Overall, it's solidly built like a my babushka, like typical bear in Russia. But at the same time, you get your full metal system, of course, dry fire selection, and of course the good gas efficiency and cold weather purpose training from a typical AK. Again, what says more AK than cold weather training? But either way, you still get the good amount of attention to detail to Tokyo Marui, but it does come with the price of being $600. Only drawback I would say is, why be plastic when you can be full wood like typical thing? But either way, I digress from that. But again, this is Mikhail from Airsoft Master, and I say das vidanya. Goodbye.
This video is brought to you by Airsoft Master.